Hi, precious angel. Welcome back to the podcast. This is Eliza Cece. And today I'm going to be talking a little bit about some of the really big identity shifting experiences that I have had that I've been just kind of dancing around for the last little bit here. And I think with an important birthday that's happening for me in a few days, it really just feels like this is a time of rebirth for me. And so I hope you will settle in and maybe you will recognize some of yourself in this story. And I hope that you'll just take it with grace and compassion for me. And if you're a praying person, I ask for your prayers for me as this continues to unfold in ways that I know I'm being led to support you and our community deeper. So basically in 2020, I started to really be more connected and more aware of how I was living out of alignment with what God wanted for me. And so it initially started in 2020, like a few weeks before Easter. I had this really beautiful dream of Jesus, and he came to me and he kept just pointing me towards the name Zebedee. And Zebedee is the father of two of the apostles that ended up following Jesus. And I didn't know that at the time. I was raised in a Christian home, like I would say Christian leaning home. But after a certain age, we were baptized, we're Presbyterian. After a certain age, we kind of like just stopped going to church for a number of reasons. And so there was like this like understanding that we all loved and believed in God. But there was no like real conversation about Jesus or what, like helping us to kind of discern what we believed and who we are in Jesus's name and all that kind of stuff. So I would say like Christian but secular leaning, heavily. And so when this started to happen, and we had Bibles in our home, but like I never had a Bible that was my own or never really read it, but I just always had this burning desire as a little girl to pray. And so when I would get scared, I remember I would always pray to God and, like my guardian angel to protect me. And one really sweet thing my mom did for me when I was having a particularly hard time when I was little, after my grandpa died, was that she got me this little angel pin and she put it on my and it like attached to my pillow, and she was like, your guardian angel's always here, and she taught me a prayer to go with that. And that was like it for what we learned through our Christianity, our very weak version of Christianity. And so I just found it very curious when in March of 2020, I had this really intense dream of Jesus just saying, Zebedee, Zebedee, Zebedee. And that was like the first awakening point for me, this moment of opening up to really feeling like and becoming, like a more devoted Christian. And so that is basically what's been going on for me. From there, I eventually had this really deep, powerful connection where in the Christian language, it's like you're saved, or you have this moment of like this episode would be called like a testimony of how I was awakened to the Lord and all this stuff. Even just the language of it feels uncomfortable for me to share out loud outside of like my inner circle, because there's so much judgment that can be out there. And so I just feel nervous about how I have been so entangled in this, this moment of, for so many years, being, working very deeply with people who are, in the new age, and, just kind of becoming that became a part of my identity and my work. And to come out of that is very just emotional for me, because I can see how much it hurt me, and so to have come out of that, and to have God just show himself to me and share with me how loved I am and how forgiven I am, and to help me to find, this path of light that isn't connected to my identity as a human, like, any good works that I do, anything that I do that's, like, oh, I'm a good person because I do these things. It's like, you don't need to do any of that when you are with God as a Christian, because, like, you can't. You're not perfect, and you do mess up, and you have God to be able to build that relationship with, and find that true connection. And so I get emotional thinking about this because of how just, like, entangled I was, because I was so lost and hurt with the stuff that was going on for me in my early 20s with my family. I'm mostly no contact with them, and that's interesting and difficult, but it's also, I feel, very much of, kind of the steps that God put in my life for me to grow in my strength and to find him, and to just kind of feel like comforted and safe, even, like, with him, but even if I have no one else, and then, of course, this whole experience was very scary for me with my husband, because I didn't know how he would react. Or I just remember, like, early on when I would share some of these questions and things, I'm so blessed. First of all, let's just say Chris Cece is the most amazing husband, an amazing partner, an amazing friend. And I feel so grateful to have such a strong partner that I can, that I was willing to be open with him and say, hey, this is uncomfortable for me, and I don't know where this is going, and I don't know who I'm gonna be on the other side of this. But he was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's just see where it goes, and just, trust what God is showing you, and, that there's got to be a reason for it. And so, so I was able to, little by little share things with him. Like, right after I had that dream, the next thing that started to happen was that I started to hear God say, get a Bible, get a Bible, get a Bible. Ooh, here's a Bible on sale. Ooh, get a Bible. Oh, look, Amazon has lots of Bibles to choose from. Maybe you should pick one. And so I just kept having, like, this, like, almost like annoying feeling in my mind of, like, you have to get a Bible, look into it. And so, like, I'm a very research oriented person, so I was like, oh wow, I didn't realize how many translations there are, and it was like a whole thing. And so I eventually chose translation that I thought would be the best for me to move through, and then from there just felt like the floodgates opened of what I was meant to do step by step through God showing me, and through beginning to build that relationship with God, call in the Holy Spirit, like, in a prayerful way every day, be reading the Bible every day, and be connecting in more with Jesus. And so those, it's just like a trickle effect of, like, one thing led to the next thing to the next thing. And today I feel, it's like almost 2 years in, and I feel like I am a completely new person. And I've heard people say that, You know, I've heard people say like you're new and renewed, and that's part of the grace and the blessing of this experience. And it's also, when it's happening to you, it feels very scary and out of body, almost because you know that you're changing, but it's like you're a person that you don't recognize. And everything from like the thoughts that I would think, or the actions I would take, the things that used to stress me out or freak me out or make me really sad. I just had this sense of peace wash over me, where I am like, people used to comment on how like chill and relaxed I am in general, like things don't really get to me. Like I have passion and like real passion for the work that I do and the people that I support and the things that I create and all this stuff, but it's also like I have like this peace now that I can't describe other than it's not from me, you know? And so I feel so grateful for that. And it's just like all of these layers. And as a coach, and I would say like as a coach and as just like a person who has like who shares about things and what I'm experiencing and how through a lens of how I can support you. I never, like, I have a process and I guess a philosophy in a way, that I don't process what's going on in my life on Instagram or anything until I have come out the side where I feel like I am, secure and understand the lesson that went through it. Because I feel like I see so many people sharing their stories or like sharing their triggers, and it's a way of like sharing your trauma online that just agitates and upsets others. And so I didn't want to share this with you until I could put it together in words that it feels now more concrete and like a lesson that I'm still very much like learning new things and going through different processes and seeing what God has for me and what my steps are. I'm letting go of so much that I had been gripping onto with my business, and just trying to be really reliant on what God is telling me to do and following through in integrity and doing what's being asked of me. Even though that's been so scary and so hard for me, I would say since January, or maybe since Valentine's Day time, I have really been feeling like so scared that God was going to ask me to let go of flower essences. And in a way, I am letting go of certain aspects of it. Like recently I let go of all of the single essences that were in my shop. And, I still have the other essences that are blends that are available. And I still, obviously so many of my offerings are connected with flower essences, but now it's more like making custom essences for you, because I was seeing all the ways that like the new age was still so gripped into flower essences. And so I needed to kind of like step back and pull away from that in order to really discern and figure out for myself what I believed and what was true, and based off of like my own testing and my own practices that have always been pretty grounded, but really just like putting them through the lens of like, is this new age? Can I still share these things? Is this an integrity? All that kind of thing. And so that took me some time to figure out too. So I just wanted to know for myself where I was headed and what I wanted to share with you about this before really bringing this to a public place. And because it's been such an experience of learning for me, that's felt so expansive and so big. It's like the biggest thing. It's the most beautiful thing that's ever happened in my life. And there aren't really, it's a feeling. It's like a feeling in my body more than it is anything that I could put words to, really. And so I am in the process of just kind of shifting my, I guess I'll be opening up to shifting and talking about this more and my experiences and what I will be teaching and what, I've let go of a long time ago, but maybe not, I haven't shared that outside of my membership. Like, my membership people know that there are certain practices I have let go of and that I don't do anymore, and they get other things instead. The practices have, my containers for classes and things have evolved with me, and there are some things that I used to do, like channeling, and there are things like tarot. I wasn't really a big tarot person, but like any kind of like oracle card thing, talking about angels, being open to people sending me Reiki. That's like, all of that stuff is gone. It's just not good for me. And I'm sure that I will have more podcasts about that as you have questions for me about, what this looks like. And then I definitely want to talk more about how flower essences, although they're a beautiful modality, I won't be talking about them through the lens of the chakra system or anything like that, because I've always been kind of skeptical of that. And it has always felt, well, the chakra system is kind of, if you research it all, you'll find that it's very much connected to the New Age. And, well, that's a whole other podcast, but if you're interested in that, we can talk about that more. But I have just been trying to figure out for myself, like, okay, how do flower essences fit? I know that they work, and I know that they're a really special way to work with them in terms of our personal self-understanding and self-inquiry, and working through triggers and challenges and hard times in our life, and helping. Recently, I had a really big question that I was asking, and I worked with pomegranate essence for that answer, and it came, and I got that answer, and it was so beautiful. And it's just like, the power of flower essences is very special, but it's like, for me, I see how flower essences are taught in everybody's kind of like teaching it in a similar way, and that way doesn't work for me anymore. And so I had to pause and kind of like step back of like really figuring out, and like, continuing to talk to God about like, how, like, is this part of my process? Like, there are many wonderful people that people can go to work with flower essences. So I'm not saying like I'm the only person that you could learn from, but if you choose to learn from me, it will be through a lens of flower essences for those things that I just mentioned, but without New Age focus or lens. So, in a different way. And so, yeah, so there's just like a lot of things that I've let go of. A lot of, like, I cleaned out my home of things with, that it didn't work for me. I lost friends over this, even though I haven't really been sharing about it. I would just say things here and there, and it was like, I know how this is. This is a very like polarizing topic. People either love when you bring up Jesus's name, or they don't like it at all. And so that's fine. And I'm not going to be evangelizing here or, talking, about, helping you come over to this Christian worldview lens that I live within now. I know and trust that if that's your life path, God will do that for you, And so, yeah, so those are the things I think I wanted to really share with you. I think one of the things that made this so hard for me was that I grew up in a home that was like really judgmental. Like my, one of my parents, I'll say, was judgmental in one way and the other parent was judgmental in another way. It was like based off like people's looks and people and like what people were doing, and if like anything wasn't the norm, then it was like kind of, you know, mocked and made fun of. And then another parent would, you know, constantly be judgy about some family members we had, and just like people in general who were had a lot of faith and really brought God into their life in a really strong way. And so I think that just kind of having that experience as a kid of like, oh, okay, so that's too far what they're doing. And to be safe in my family unit, I need to like stay small and not ask those questions, or, you know, really come to God in the way that my heart was crying out for as a little girl. And so I think for me, that was part of what was making me feel resistant to sharing this experience with Chris, of like not knowing how he would react, even though like he's a very connected to God person himself. And I think that that's one of the blessings. I've always gone to Chris when I have questions about any kind of religious stuff or Christianity. He was raised Catholic, so like he has that worldview of things that he was raised in, and then like him, you know, asking questions and figuring out, okay, what do I believe, what don't I believe? And so it's been a really beautiful experience for us to come together and to figure out for ourselves what this is all for and where we're going from here. So, yeah, so sometimes when we have lived in families where, you know, judgment is a part of the culture, you know, like you either have to get in on it or you will be the person who's being judged. You know, that can also kind of sway how we feel when we are the person that's going through something that's very unique or internally shifting our identity, and it can be really scary to feel like we could be on the outside. And although I don't have like that daily one-on-one connection with any of those people, it still lives inside of me that I would be, you know, that person who would be the butt of that again. You know, like after all the trauma I've been through with that, with family, my heart just doesn't want to have to go through that pain again after it's taken so long for it to be healed. And so yeah, I just feel like there are so many parts of this that are continuing to evolve and grow for me. You know, like I have a really beautiful like practice of like prayer. You know, I have like a prayer journal practice that I love, and that's been working really well for me. And I use like certain apps to, you know, like read Bible plans, and you know, I make time every day before I do anything else. I sit and read the Bible, and that just really gives a lot to me. And I think I'm like on day like 282 or something of my reading the Bible every day. So it's like 282 days. The old Eliza would have never been able to do any consistent practice for more than like 2 weeks. And so I know that that's like God carrying me through that, and that it's an important piece of me figuring out and really going deeper in my relationship with God and with Jesus, that I know that it feels light and it feels easy and it feels like something that gets me up out of bed in the morning, that I get excited to do these practices, versus when I was in New Age stuff, I was like sad and depressed and lonely and constantly trying to manifest or trying to like make my will have things happen, and you know, like doing like moon rituals and being around people who just were really dark. And you know, I accepted that like this is, you know, like, oh, if you're channeling Eliza, like, then you must be like special, like I think in a way I felt like I was, a little bit special, or like God gave me this gift, where, really it was so dangerous, and I'm so lucky I didn't get like hurt through those processes. And I'm so glad to just kind of, cancel, delete that out of my life and not be doing those things anymore, because it's just not who I am any longer. And yeah, so there's just like a lot of layers of it, like, throwing out, like certain artwork and jewelry and stuff that I don't like, that had symbols and stuff on it. Certain crystals I have tossed. I've gotten rid of a lot of crystals that I used to have, and like I used to spend all my money on this like new age stuff, and like feeling like there was always like something else to learn or something else I had to do to like be better. And that's not the case anymore, and I just feel free. I feel really free. I feel really loved and held in God's presence, and I feel obviously I'm like so new to this, but I'm doing my best to like research and find good teachers and find mentors that I can learn from, and just keep doing what comes forward through my day, through my connection with God, and through prayer and listening, and being who He created me to be. And so that's a story. That is what I have been going through. It feels like such a relief to have shared this with you. So what does this mean? So this means that I am beginning to focus more back, like OG style, like back in the day when I was working with clients a lot. And that's going to be my main focus is client work and coaching and supporting people who have kind of questions about their faith and questions about like, how can I let go of new age practices? Like, that's going to be one layer of it, but the other layer of it obviously is just going to be like coaching and me being of service more than I had been when I was so busy and focused on the shop and the orders. And so like that is going to be one sizable shift. And I think also I have like new beliefs about angels, and so I'm not sure if I'm going to keep the name Earth Angel for the podcast or if we're going to change it to something else. But I just want you to be aware that even though I love the name Earth Angel because it kind of just really brings up this happy thought in my mind of us beautiful people coming, and making the world better, and really just aligning to that truth of who you are and what that is revealed through you, that the name of my things may shift. And so just letting you know that if that happens, I will have a podcast with a new name reveal. And if the podcast cover image changes, I'll let you know about that ahead of time. And so, so heavy focus on coaching and how I can support you. So like if you have questions about any of this, or, just ways that I can support you in your life, like things that are going on for you that you need support with, and you need, someone to hold your hand and walk you through it. Most of my coaching is really about, asking big questions for yourself and just really having that space to sit and listen and pay attention to what it is that's being revealed through you. So that's obviously going to evolve and change. I don't currently know if the shop will be here forever. I have been feeling like there are certain flower essence blends that I'm really excited to be creating. But we will see if that's going to happen or not. And then obviously I'm going to have to shift the way that the membership works currently. So one of the things that was really funny about this was, the name of the membership was formerly the Flower Coven, So obviously very witchy and very not my vibe anymore. And so I knew that I had to change that name, and I was very resistant to it. And so then someone stole the name and started to use it for themselves. And so that was, to me, like a definitely, Jesus kind of pushing me in the direction of like, yeah, it's time, just get rid of it. And so I just renamed it to the Earth Angel memberships until it becomes what it's going to become, new and fresh for January 2023. So we're going to change up what the membership looks like. So I'll be closing the doors of the current membership and what it is, and I'll be creating something new that's going to be really fun and a full year commitment and flow of different teachings that, aside from flower essences, will be really joyful and sweet to share with you, along the lines of, visioning what it is that you're stepping into, like having intentions for yourself and really diving into creating that through the lens of faith and that kind of connection that you want to build with God. So just FYI, that is coming in 2023. And yeah, so if you have any questions, definitely reach out to me. You can email me or you can send me a DM on Instagram. I am here for you. I know that this might, I don't know, is this a shock? Is this like, yeah, I figured that it was something like this because you've been talking about God a lot in your stories. So if it's not been like a shock to the system or anything, and you expected that this was happening, awesome. If this feels confusing to you and you're like, I need all the details, please let me know, because I want to make more podcast episodes about this, like what questions you have, and how I can just be a big supporter for you if you're going through something similar. One of the things that happened in 2020 is that a lot of us woke up to things that weren't good for us and how to shift them. And so if that's you too, I would love to hear from you and just support you and cheer you on as you come to your own conclusions and find out what is important to you and where you're headed and where you're going next, And if you feel like you want to be working together one-on-one and be kind of letting go of some of these practices that you have been doing that have been draining you, or that no longer feel in alignment, but you're scared or you're unsure, or you just have something big going on in your life and you need some coaching, please reach out to me, because this is where my heart and my focus is going to be. And so I would love to hear some of the things that are going on for you so that I can create content to support you and help move you through some of these harder times that you might be going through in your life, because it's so much easier when we go through these big transitions and these big identity shifts when we know people who've been through it, or maybe are just a little farther ahead on the journey than you might be. And it can be really comforting to have a place to ask the questions and to know that we aren't alone. I know that would have been extremely helpful for me as I was going through this, because it was a lot. It was a lot all at once. There was a lot of things I didn't share that have happened, and just the ways that I believe now. It's like I'm a completely new person, and I love it. It feels really good, but also when you're going through it, it can be really scary and really like I could lose everything. I could lose everything, and in a way I did. I lost all the bad things. I lost all the things that weren't working for me. I lost all of the beliefs and stories that I held. I lost all the practices that were dark and that were weighing me down. And I'm new in a good way, in an amazing way. And so if this isn't your vibe, I understand. You can totally unsubscribe to the podcast, but maybe you'll just want to hang around and listen to my stories and that would be amazing. And if you are vibing with this and you're like, yes, I resonate with this, I've been through something similar, or I know someone who has, thank you for being here and for continuing to support the podcast by being a listener. I'm so grateful for you. So that's where I'm going to leave it. Reach out if you have questions or shares, you just want to connect. Tell me what you think about this. Please, I pray that you keep your comments kind and sensitive to the experience that I've been through and all this. And that's it. That's all for now. I love you so much, and more to come. I am sending you all my love, and I'm so grateful for your presence here. And yeah, I'll talk to you soon. Love you.